much money would you spend to purchase a Pikachu? And no, I'm not talking about a cute and marketable plush toy, but a real, honest-to-goodness Pikachu fully equipped for battle. That is exactly what Alfred tasked myself and these other Nuzlockers with when he challenged us to a race of Pokémon Emerald where all of our encounters would be purchased through an auction. Each of us would start with $10,000 and bid on 120 different Pokemon hand-selected by Alfred until the auction was closed. Then we had to race with whatever we ended up with. The auction was a super interesting way to team build, as each one of us had a different idea of what archetypes of Pokemon we needed to breeze through Hoenn. But the question was, would they even be available? There were so many potential strategies and mind games that, when coupled with a roster of Nuzlockers who are more than capable of taking the whole thing, forced me to bring my A game. I decided to create a list of archetypes that I knew would be necessary to beat a standard hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Emerald, and then built in a money tracker to make sure I wasn't overspending. With that, the auction was underway and I patiently waited for my targets to show up. The first batch brought out some massive hitters, like a Gyarados to be and a Heracross, but this early into the bidding, I was scared off by the high price tags and let two prime candidates fall into the hands of Flygon. Remember, there were still 112 Pokemon to go, so I figured that if there were such great Pokemon this early, they must be littered throughout the entire auction, right? Right? I finally took my first swing when Abra came to the plate. In our copy of Emerald, all of the evolution items would be located in Lily Cove City, so I could have Alakazam for the late game and Kadabra would be solid through the mid game, as this is just vanilla Emerald after all. The real reason I went in on this Pokemon, however, had nothing to do with its in-battle attributes. Abra is one of only a few lines of Pokemon that learns the move Teleport in its level up learn set, so I knew that Abra would be a great addition to help me traverse the region and get a potential massive leg up over my competition when it came to traversing the overworld. The auction continued and I competed hard on certain Pokemon that I knew would be really solid.
Gibble is the Pokemon worth breaking out the bank for.
I'll do 8.
8. We got 9, kid. We got 9.
I'll do 9.
Okay, we got 900 going once, going twice. Sold to kid for over half the price of Sprigatito.
But ultimately fell short and ended up with a box that I wasn't too proud of. I mean, at first glance, this looks like it might be the best box of them all, with Urshifu, Garchomp, Aegislash, Mr. Mime. But the issue was I wouldn't have access to these Pokemon at their full power until way later in the run. I had the best in-game team, sure, but what good would that do me if everyone had already finished by the time I made it there? Ultimately, my reluctance to overspend on the high-value mons was my downfall, as I had failed to pick up any of the Pokemon capable of sweeping virtually all of Hoenn by themselves. Or that's at least what I thought. Towards the end of the draft, when we were all relatively low on money, Alfred started to sweeten the pot on certain Pokemon.
What if we throw in the Sunstone? Eh?
I'll do 7.
7, right? We got 7. Going once.
I'll do 8.
8. We got 8 for kid. Going once. Going twice. And sold.
Needless to say, this ended up being exactly the luck I needed to level the playing field. A fully evolved grass fairy type is pretty phenomenal to traverse Hoenn with, so I was more than pleased that I got one straight out of the gate. Even more so, given that we all had a built-in move relearner, so I could have my in-game learn set straight from the jump. Whimsicott would be my key to success in this race. So as soon as the starting gun went off, I headed straight to the box to grab her and went on my merry way. I've done enough of these Nuzlocke races to know that anything more than a single Pokemon for Roxanne is usually overkill, so I stuck with my strongest Pokemon, and unsurprisingly, 3 energy balls later, we had claimed our first gym badge. This put me in great position with the other frontrunners of the race. I quickly scurried back to Petalburg City, where I would pick up my team for the remainder of the early game. It was important to complete this task here, as this was my desired teleport point to return to way down the line. I knew Kadabra could handle Brawly, Gabite would take care of Watson, and Chinchou was perfect for Flannery as it evolves into Lantern at level 27, which is just under her level cap. These were a few of the Pokemon who I splurged on the most during the auction, so I knew that I wanted to maximize their value. I land in Dewford and decide to visit Steven first to deliver the letter, picking up the silk scarf along the way. Turns out, Kadabra would only be needed for their teleport transportation, as Whimsicott once again proved their worth by completely sweeping Brawly with a move he doesn't even know exists yet. At this point, everyone was still neck and neck, so it was only a matter of time before someone broke free and took a real lead. One destroyed Sandcastle later, and I arrived in Mauville City with full confidence that Gabite was more than capable of sweeping Watson. And I was right! Once again, I completely bypass any and all Pokemon centers on my way to Lava Ridge, where I gear up to take on Flannery and her terrifying turtle. I should mention that the entirety of the evil team plot has been removed from this copy of Emerald, so we won't have to deal with either of their shenanigans, meaning no Fall Arbor Town for us. Late into the auction, I spent a decent chunk of change on Frillish for its ability to wall out a few of Flannery's Pokemon extremely hard due to being both resistant to fire and immune to normal. I just had to hope that both Frillish and Lantern would be enough to take down Flannery and her fiery spirit without losing too much time by not being the hardest hitters.
Oh no, it's a male. Oh, there's the overheat. Okay. Frillish, you got to hold. Okay. We're going Lantern. Oh, we got switch AI'd. Oh my God. You know what? I gotta say, you got my number there. Okay, we got through. God damn it. Come on, please. Please, Lantern, come on. Dude, I hate attraction. And now we can just kill this with Brian, hopefully. I mean, it's less than half. This is a huge base. Okay, way to go, Frillish. It's just so slow. Oh my God. This should kill. Come on, Lantern. You got to clutch up for us. Yes, okay. All right, Flannery's down. Now I wipe.
With a fairly slow Flannery now finished, it was time to execute my master plan and vault back into first place. However, I wasn't sure how long it would last. See, my biggest blunder in the entire auction was not preparing a good team for Norman. There were multiple instances during the auction where I fell just short on getting a good fighting type to deal with this gym quickly, and by the time I realized this mistake, another good fighting type just never appeared. For whatever reason, I picked up Clobbopus, a fighting type so bad and with such an awful evolution method that I intentionally picked it during the trash log because I knew it couldn't evolve by Norman. Why did I pick it during this auction? Great question! In hindsight, Kubfu here might have still been my best option as it would have had Detect and Brick Break, but its relative fragility really scared me off as I would have been incredibly embarrassed to have lost such an amazing Pokemon before I even got the chance to evolve it into the game-breaking monstrosity that it is destined to become. So, with no good fighting types at my disposal, this ended up being my Norman team. Yeah, this could be rough. I decided to risk it all with Lycanroc by howling in the face of a Spinda who was desperate to send me into a tizzy. I keep up this charade until Lycanroc either sweeps Norman's team or sweeps itself straight into the grave.
God. All right. Do you believe? Do you believe in Lycanroc, please? All right, well, he did not do it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we're getting that fast Norman like everyone else. With Lycanroc now 6 feet under, it was time to figure out how I was going to deal with the rest of this fight because the situation looked pretty bleak. I turned to Lantern to take out the demon Spinda, and in comes the massive threat himself. This is the moment my lead in this race came crumbling down. All of the mistakes I made during the auction phase were coming to fruition here. While my competition was able to breeze through Norman and his gym trainers with some of the most powerful fighting types out there, I was left with Ferroseed. Yet again, I found myself relying on my trusty Whimsicott to get the job done. A combination of Boldore Mud Slaps and Whimsicott Charms let me slowly chip away at the beast, but unfortunately for me, Yawn completely bypasses accuracy, so I was completely at the behest of this slacking that desperately wanted me to slumber. After a painstakingly long amount of time, I finally took down the brute, but the damage had been done. Whimsicott finished off Norman's final 2 Pokemon and the grim reality set in. I was the first person to enter Petalburg Gym, but I was the second to last to exit. The consequences of not getting a good fighting type were so severe that it took me longer than 10 minutes to get through the entirety of this gym. I had been dealt a devastating blow in Norman's gym. But that's nothing new in these races. I was now at a point where not only would I have to play near perfect to climb my way back up to the top, but I also had to rely on others faltering to allow me to catch them. Again, I do have the best Elite Four team out of everyone, so it's not impossible that I could reach and surpass them, but I will have to play out of my mind in order to do so.
Let's make sure that we dodge all these guys. What am I doing? I knew that was gonna happen too.
I did not, in fact, play out of my mind. While teleporting straight back to Petalburg from Lava Ridge after defeating Flannery is very cool, I actually think that Mauville is the most logical teleport destination since I can skip all of this immediately after defeating Norman. Or I could, you know, just take the most optimal path and not hit any optional trainers. Having a run marked by incredible optimization in the overworld for the first half of the race and terrible navigation in the second half was extremely embarrassing. Not to mention, it was becoming painfully obvious just how much my team struggled through the mid-game of Hoenn. Between Tandemaus being too tedious to evolve during a race and Tynamo just not evolving at all, I realized that I had made some major errors when constructing this squad. Sure, getting to Lily Cove will be a massive power scale, but by that point, someone will have already been escorted into the Hall of Fame and it will all be for naught. I finally scraped up the bottom of the barrel to assemble a Winona team that looked like this. Sure would be nice to have that Lycanroc right about now.
If I lose this, it's like GG's. I'm risking it all. Okay, wait. This might be genius. We paraflinch this fool. We paraflinch him. How? How? We might be cooked here. Come on, Boldor, you gotta hold. Wait, I didn't check if it's sturdy. Oh, wait, please be sturdy. Yes! Come on, hit the rock slide. Yes! Let's go, Corey.
At this point, things were starting to look very grim for me. I had made it through another slow gym fight, meaning that I was now a full 2 liters behind the front runner. I held on to that sliver of hope that still existed and made my way south to Lily Cove where my team could finally reach its true potential. An additional rival fight as well as several evolution sequences put me even further behind the pack, but I was now just trying to play as carefully as I could. The only real chance I had left was everyone else fumbling at the goal line, allowing me to come in and steal the victory. The team was appreciably stronger now, and with 2 ghost types and a single dark type that I was baited into buying.
Drew doesn't have a ghost type yet. Try to get it away from him, guys.
Okay, yeah, 6. Let's go.
We got 6 for Kid. Jan, you want the 7? You at least want to take it?
Definitely not.
I felt confident that Tate and Liza would be no issue whatsoever. Especially now that I finally had an opportunity to do what I've wanted to do in every single one of these draft races.
Come on, Claydol. Silk Scarf boosted explosion. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
Well, that was pretty anticlimactic. Spiritomb and Jellicent have absolutely no issue whatsoever cleaning up the rest of the fight, so good job, buddy. You weren't completely useless after all. All hope had been lost though, because as I finished my Tate and Liza fight, Wacko joined Flygon in the champions room, meaning that I was now pretty firmly out of it. So while Wacko clutched out a win in the final few seconds of an intense race, I was wasting my time leveling up 3 new Pokemon for 1. I mean, I've already lost, so might as well play as safe as possible, right? It all ended up being completely useless as Whimsicott and Urshifu had absolutely zero issue ensuring that I could safely claim the 8th and final gym badge. With all stakes now completely gone, I knew that I could assemble the best Elite Four team I had, and wow, would you look at that? The really good Elite Four team I focused so hard on during the auction phase had no problems clearing out the Elite Four. Money well spent. Ultimately, I was very disappointed in how I played this race. From the auction phase to the actual sprint itself, I just didn't make the necessary moves to keep it competitive until the very end. But hey, if you want to watch a winner's POV, then check out this video instead, where I absolutely smash it out of the park.